Here's what you missed in the last 11 hours. You had 30 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from OpenAI's new GPT-5.5 launch to Debian's controversial election, Intel's latest workstation chips, and a major vulnerability in Adobe PDFs. The big story today was OpenAI's announcement of GPT-5.5, which they're positioning as a fundamentally new class of intelligence. This isn't just another model update. OpenAI is claiming this represents AI that can take action across your apps and keep going until tasks are done, rather than just responding to single prompts. The announcement was deliberately brief and confident, suggesting they view this as a categorical advancement rather than incremental improvement. Matthew Berman had early access to GPT-5.5 for 2 weeks and gave us the comprehensive breakdown we needed. He was genuinely excited about the improvements, but also frustrated with technical streaming issues throughout his broadcast. The model comes in 2 forms: GPT-5.5 in Codex for coding tasks, and GPT-5.5 Pro in ChatGPT for research and complex problems. Pricing is steep at $5 per million input tokens and $30 for output tokens, double GPT-5.4's rates. But Berman stressed the token efficiency gains mean you get the same intelligence for fewer tokens, despite higher per-token costs. He demonstrated the model fixing front-end layout issues that previous versions couldn't solve, and noted significantly improved personality and tone compared to what he called GPT-5.4's soulless feel. The competitive implications are huge. OpenAI is directly targeting Anthropic's enterprise coding market with this release. Speaking of that competitive landscape, Nate from AI News and Strategy Daily was blown away by how OpenAI transformed Codex from a coding tool into a powerful desktop agent. He's been testing it side by side with Claude's computer use capabilities and found Codex completes workflows at human-like speed while Claude hesitates and retries. Most importantly, Codex rarely fumbles mid-task. It backs up when needed and finishes reliably, unlike other computer use products that often fail partway through. Nate revealed that this capability came from OpenAI's October acquisition of Software Applications Incorporated, the 12-person team behind an unreleased Mac AI interface called Sky. The team includes the co-founders of Workflow, which Apple acquired and turned into Shortcuts, plus a 10-year Apple veteran who worked on Safari and WebKit. This accumulated Mac OS expertise explains what Alexander Emirikos from the Codex team called the deep OS-level wizardry needed for background agent operation without hijacking your cursor. Claravio from How AI has been testing GPT-5.5 for 2 weeks and found it exceptional for complex coding problems that other models couldn't handle. She was particularly excited about the model's ability to work autonomously for extended periods. She gave it a complex data migration problem involving millions of rows, and it worked for 6 hours with 0 additional prompts, processing 2 million rows with only 1 remaining edge case. But her ultimate test was hacking into a Doom Mini 2 Bluetooth speaker that she'd been trying to crack since February. Previous models, including Claude Code and GPT-4, had failed completely. GPT-5.5 succeeded, building a command line tool for terminal control after analyzing Bluetooth packet captures. She literally screamed when it worked and called it her delight moment after months of failed attempts. Dennis Hanush from NVIDIA's Coding Agents team shared his perspective on GPT-5.5, emphasizing how it can just get things done rather than just having conversations. He built podcast recording software within a week using Codex, and described using it to elevate an internal NVIDIA platform from MVP to production level. His key insight was that GPT-5.5 proactively identifies bugs and gaps outside the frame of what you're asking it to do. It's not just executing tasks, but performing broader code analysis. He concluded by saying he's never been more excited to work on software than with GPT-5.5. Aaron Friel from OpenAI's engineering acceleration team was surprised by the tidal wave of pull requests and changes from engineers who now have enhanced intelligence capabilities. The standout feature for him was engineers being able to run the model on single tasks for more than 40 hours continuously through the new Codex harness. He emphasized that GPT-5.5 breaks the typical pattern of trading intelligence for slower throughput. The velocity remains high while delivering much more capability. For his personal workflow, he's been reviving old projects from 10 to 15 years ago, including college code that hadn't been buildable for 5 to 10 years. Claire Vaux from ChatPRD had a similar experience, immediately starting what she called cooking, spinning up multiple projects as soon as she got access. Her reaction to GPT-5.5 was time to cook, and she emphasized how the model felt fast and responsive while getting stuff done effectively. Her hardest test was tackling bug zero in ChatPRD, a backlog of issues that had been bothering her team for months. She compiled them into a CSV and gave it to GPT-5.5, which achieved a 98% success rate working autonomously. The model was writing better code and could traverse their complex codebase effectively with minimal supervision. Will Koh from RAMP highlighted GPT-5.5's dramatically improved ability to understand ambiguous tasks. Previous models required very detailed, instruction-heavy prompts directing the AI to specific parts of codebases. With GPT-5.5, he's become lazy with very ambiguous tasks, but the model figures things out independently, directing its research to the right areas, coming up with multiple solution options, and getting work done. At RAMP, they measure zero-touch perfect extractions from financial documents, and GPT-5.5 is performing at their highest rate on this metric. Moving to hardware territory, Linus was testing whether Apple really destroyed the budget laptop market with the MacBook Neo by comparing it against three $600 Windows and Chrome OS machines. Despite his usual PC preference, he was genuinely surprised and somewhat embarrassed by how poorly the PC competition performed. The Acer's display was so bad he questioned whether the IPS specifications were even correct, calling it absolutely garbage. The Dell's CPU performance was shockingly poor with AMD Zen 5 cores that left him questioning why such weak processors exist. While the MacBook Neo only has 2 USB-C ports with iPhone SoC limitations, it won overall with superior build quality, display, and user experience. Linus grudgingly acknowledged he had to give Apple credit despite his commercial conflict of interest. Alex Ziskind was feeling stupid about his expensive M5 Max MacBook purchase after testing it against the M5 and M5 Pro across real development workflows. He found the Pro and Max perform surprisingly similarly in most tasks, with the Max only meaningfully pulling ahead in AI workloads requiring massive memory. His WebKit compilation results were particularly uncomfortable for Max owners. The M5 Max completed in 15.3 minutes versus the Pro's 16.1 minutes, while the base M5 took 56.5 minutes. The Max only justified its cost when running large AI models that literally won't fit on other machines, like the 122GB Mixture of Experts model that required the Max's 128GB configuration. On the workstation front, Level 1 techs covered Intel's new Xeon 658X, a 24-core CPU that offers impressive memory bandwidth up to 500+ gigabytes per second. The host was excited about the platform's features, including active memory cooling and extensive I/O capabilities, but realistic about its core performance limitations. While per-core performance only modestly improves over Intel's last generation and still trails AMD's Zen 5 in general workloads, the platform shines in AI inferencing and scientific computing, where memory bandwidth matters most. The 24-core chip costs about $1,000 less than AMD's comparable Pro Threadripper, while delivering superior memory bandwidth. On the security front, Low-Level covered a concerning new zero-day exploit in Adobe Acrobat Reader that's been actively exploited since December. The vulnerability uses JavaScript in PDFs to escape sandboxing and fingerprint victim systems through an unexpected RSS feed attack vector. The presenter was genuinely surprised to learn PDFs could even run JavaScript, and explained how the malware bypasses sandbox restrictions by exploiting Adobe's RSS engine functionality. It performs extensive fingerprinting, including reading Windows DLL files to determine exact system versions before downloading tailored exploits. Adobe confirmed the severity with a security bulletin on April 12 acknowledging active exploitation. In open source governance news, the Lunjuk Journal covered Debian's election of Sai Chundran as their new project leader in what he characterized as a controversial DEI-focused campaign. The presenter was openly mocking and dismissive, noting she ran unopposed against only none of the above and won by 289 to 50 votes, with only 33% of eligible developers participating. Chundran's platform explicitly focused on reducing the number of cis male developers in the project, which the presenter criticized as discriminatory. He connected this to Debian's partnership with Outriki, an organization he characterized as excluding straight white and Asian men from paid internships. Speaking of communication and career advancement, BGO argued that software engineers are severely underpaid because they use technical jargon instead of communicating value to business stakeholders. He went from junior developer to manager in under 3 years, with salary jumping from $120,000 to $250,000, crediting communication as the biggest factor. His core framework involves removing technical jargon unless it directly correlates to a KPI, using the Y framework to trace technical decisions down to business value, and speaking at 5th grade reading level, since that's the average US comprehension. Instead of saying you'll use React for the front end, you say you'll build a website that increases conversion rates by 15%, bringing an extra $20,000 per month. The serious CTO took a more cautionary tone about AI's impact on development, arguing that senior developers are getting slower because they're spending time reviewing AI-generated code they don't understand. He introduced the concept of comprehension debt, the gap between how much code exists and how much humans actually understand. Research shows code churn increased from 5.5 to 7.9%. Duplicated code blocks increased eightfold in 2024, and 45% of AI-generated code contains security flaws. Senior developers experienced a 19% productivity drop when reviewing AI-generated code, while junior developers using AI scored 17% lower on comprehension tests. His solution focuses on spec-driven development, where human-written specifications become the primary artifact before any code generation. Dan Martell took a more opportunistic view, arguing this is a critical moment to leverage AI for wealth creation before it replaces traditional jobs. He advocates for an offensive strategy of self-disruption and positioning for an AI-driven economy where agents, not humans, make purchasing decisions. Martell launches a new AI company monthly and sees firsthand how a 17-year-old with a laptop can now build what previously required 50 employees in 5 years. He emphasized selling impossible outcomes rather than AI tools, and preparing for AI agents that will handle shopping decisions with McKinsey, projecting this market reaching $3 to $5 trillion by 2030. On infrastructure decisions, Maximilian Schwarzmuller addressed whether private servers are better than Vercel following their recent security incident. Despite having just released a VPS course, he deliberately argued against using VPS for security reasons. His core thesis was that with managed services, you depend on provider security expertise, but with VPS, it's just you handling all security responsibilities. The actual VPS advantages are cost-effectiveness and flexibility applications, costing dozens or hundreds monthly on managed providers, could run for around $20 on VPS, and you can install anything including databases like SQLite that Vercel doesn't support. But he emphasized security isn't a VPS advantage. Zen Van Riel provided practical guidance on fine-tuning local AI models in 2026, demonstrating how he fine-tuned an open-source model on his YouTube transcripts over a weekend. He showed the dramatic difference between his fine-tuned model giving direct, practical answers versus the vanilla version producing what he called poetic slop about being still water. His honest 5-step pipeline covers data collection, dataset engineering, low-raw training, evaluation, and GGUF export. He emphasized that NVIDIA remains the leader due to CUDA support, strongly advised against Apple Silicon for fine-tuning despite its advantages for running models, and noted that AMD offers ROCm as a middle ground alternative, though compatibility varies. Y Combinator CEO Gary Tan showcased GStack, his open-source framework that turns Claude code into an AI engineering team with specialized skills. He demonstrated building a tax document app using office hours skill for product reframing, plan mode for technical approaches, and design shotgun for visual brainstorming. Tan described running 10 to 15 parallel Claude code sessions simultaneously, managing 400 PRs across multiple projects, and outputting up to 50 PRs per day in what he calls his Level 7 software factory approach. GStack has already gained over 70,000 GitHub stars since its 3-week-old release. DIY Smart Code analyzed Google's Cloud Next announcements, arguing that the 12 interconnected products form what Google calls the Agentic Enterprise, OS, a complete stack designed for running thousands of AI agents in production. The presenter was particularly excited about the strategic coherence, noting this wasn't a product dump, but a platform manifesto. Key components include 8th-generation TPUs with 121 exaflops per superpod for training and 80% better performance per dollar for inference. The Virgo network delivering 47 petabits per second bisectional bandwidth, and extensive customer proof points like Virgin Voyages, cutting mass itinerary rebooking from 6 hours to 11 minutes, a 33 times improvement. DIY Smart Code also covered Claude Code version 2.1.118, which delivers major fixes for OAuth authentication issues and MCP token problems, plus 6 key improvements. The OAuth problems were extensive token refresh failing mid-session, tokens without expires in fields triggering hourly reauthentication, and dangerous keychain race conditions on macOS. The update includes 67% faster session resume on large conversations, proper Vim visual modes, enterprise-friendly update blocking, and enhanced terminal rendering for international scripts, including Devanagari for Hindi, Marathi, and Nepali speakers. Shifting to personal development, Rhonda Ross shared her emotional sovereignty practice on TED, a method for tuning your inner voice through identifying negative thoughts and replacing them with intentionally nourishing thoughts turned into personalized songs or songtras. Ross, daughter of Diana Ross, was remarkably vulnerable, sharing personal stories about miscarriages and recent parenting moments. Her 5-step process involves acknowledging your agency over thoughts, investigating and naming specific feelings, identifying the triggering thought, replacing it with a nourishing thought, then setting that to a melody. She emphasized that when we take responsibility for our own mindset and feelings, we stop trying to control and manipulate others, addressing root causes of unkindness and violence at scale. GOTO conferences featured Viktor Gamov interviewing Gorshkova about her new book Kafka for Architects. Kasia shared her journey from traditional Oracle Service Bus and SOA integration to Kafka streams starting around 2015 at Česká spořitelna Bank. She emphasized that while Kafka technology is reliable, the real challenges emerge from organizational rather than technical architecture. Teams need social contracts, technical contracts, and clear communication about data ownership and schema changes. Her book dedicates chapters specifically to these human challenges and organizing Kafka projects within organizations. She remains confident Kafka will stay relevant in AI systems as services need communication mechanisms, though she's exploring Apache Flink as a potential solution for declarative transformations. Microsoft developer showcased GitHub Copilot's new abilities in SQL Server Management Studio 22.5, which can now directly interact with query results panes and execution plans. Aaron Stellato was excited demonstrating the feature, but emphasized being mindful of data size since Copilot sends all results data to the AI model for analysis. The system uses a tool called RAN-Get-Grid results to pull this information, making large result sets potentially problematic. The update also includes a Markdown viewer for custom instructions and performance analysis integration that works with Statistics I/O and time settings. MaxTech reviewed the Soundcore Space 2 headphones as the best value headphones of 2026, praising their $130 price point for features typically found in $300+ headphones. Max was enthusiastic throughout, repeatedly expressing disbelief at how Soundcore achieves such quality at low prices. Key features include 4-stage active noise cancellation, 70 hours battery life with ANC, offer 50 hours with it, on ultra-comfortable memory foam designed from analyzing over 2,000 head profiles, lossless sound with LDAC support, and built-in white noise for airplane napping. Ben's feedback from a Lowe's Angels trip showed he never charged them and still had 70% battery afterward. Game from Scratch covered RayLib 6, reinforcing its position as the easiest way to get started with C++ game programming. Mike was genuinely enthusiastic and passionate throughout, expressing clear affection for the library's zero-dependency approach and comprehensive documentation via a single cheat sheet. Version 6 includes a new software renderer enabling RayLib to run on microcontrollers like ESP32, redesigned animation systems supporting blending, and a complete file system API overhaul. The project now has hundreds of thousands of GitHub stars and over 200 examples managed by the new Wrexham tool. Mike particularly appreciated the modular architecture, allowing individual components to be used independently. Also from Game from Scratch, Mike showcased 3 massive 3D environment asset bundles from Leertz, one each for Godot with 25+ packs, Unity with 30+ packs, and Unreal Engine with 40+ packs. He was particularly excited about the Godot bundle since it's an underserved market, and demonstrated environments like cyberpunk rooftops, medieval villages, Mayan ruins, and a lighthouse sitting atop a giant tortoise. All bundles are priced at $99.99, but available for $39.99 with discount code SB60. The assets come as complete projects for Unreal, packages with multiple pipeline versions for Unity, and Godot projects for forward or mobile renderer. Yang Ye was clearly enthusiastic about progress in game preservation, covering how Ubisoft has begun implementing hybrid online-offline modes for the crew games in direct response to the Stop Killing Games movement. This is particularly significant because the Crew 1's complete shutdown sparked the movement that now has Ubisoft preemptively complying. The Crew 2 now features enhanced offline functionality, including custom livery creation, implemented specifically because Ubisoft feared the European Citizens Initiative would pass. Yang Ye noted the irony that future Crew games are now complying with the movement their predecessors' treatment had created, and expressed hope this represents a turning point for the entire industry, given that 80 to 90% of all games in gaming history no longer exist in any official capacity. That covers the highlights from your 30 videos. The OpenAI GPT-5.5 launch clearly dominated the tech conversation, but there were also some fascinating developments in hardware, security vulnerabilities, and industry policy shifts. Quite a packed 11 hours of content there.